about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
You know, it's interesting. One thing I never ever got to experience, that the majority of Americans got to experience, was something called a snow day. I never got to have that because I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada, Phoenix, Nevada, Southern California. We never had a snow day. And then when I did go to medical school in Reno, Nevada, if there was snow, you still had to go in and do what you had to do. Doctors and students don't get time off. Then when I was at UCLA for the last year of medical school, no snow day there. I've never experienced a snow day. And apparently it's pretty cool. My husband did. He grew up in Maryland, and he said snow days were the best thing ever because you had to go to school. You were ready to go to school. You knew what you had to do. And then all of a sudden, no school. And the euphoria of there not being school. I have gotten to experience no work today. There was a fire. Or there was something, and that is really cool, but I'm a workaholic. So for me, I'm like, man, I need to work. But, snow days. And interestingly, doctors have been weighing in on this, and they actually think snow days are healthy. It gives you, quote unquote, permission to unplug. Now, I believe a lot of schools have had to close over the snowstorm that we've had over the weekend and the week. And so many schools had to be closed Monday and because it's dangerous, right? So from a health standpoint, if it's dangerous to get to class and you can't ride the bus, or you're standing outside in freezing temperatures waiting for the bus, or your parents don't have all-wheel drive or snow tires, that makes sense. But what about the idea of, look, you're not going to school today? Snow day. Well, so here's the thing. Many people say, well, that means Zoom school. We're bringing back COVID era. You need to go back to virtual. Well, here's my thing. If snow day means you get to go play in the snow, I think that's very advantageous. I really do. I think stopping everything, you and your friends get to all revel and enjoy in not having to go to school. Although people who are geeks like me, I was like, man, I was really looking forward to school. I like school. I did. I just love school. But I love school because I got to be away from my parents and I got to hang out with people that I got to hang out with kids, which is something I wanted to do. But the idea of just, going outside, playing in the snow, here's my thing. I never lived in an area like that. And so if there was a snow day or a day where I had to not go to school, I was back home doing chores with my mom, not fun. For people having fun, yes, I think it's great. But for those individuals who don't get to sled, don't get to throw snowballs, don't get to build forts, it's different. But a snow day means, the old-fashioned snow day means not remote school. But the issue we're having, and this is why I think we need to really re-alter what we're doing with school, is school districts have such a finite timeline where if they miss a day, then all their lessons are off. And these poor teachers, where they're like, well, we had a snow day or we didn't have this day. So now what do we do? How do we, and good school districts will plan ahead and have that flexibility for extra lesson plans, etc. But for those individuals where, we only have X amount of days, we only have X amount of vacation time, so now we're screwed. I don't understand why school isn't year-round. And I know that's not very popular amongst the teachers and amongst some parents, but I just don't understand the 3-month summer break. That makes no sense to me. Kids should be learning year-round. We are losing 4 years, right? No, 3. We're losing 3 years off a child's academic conquest by 3 months off a year, no school. Then you don't panic. If these kids are getting reinforced, if they're learning, if they're doing practical learning, I said academics should be the book learning in the morning with small concrete classes, like no more than 20, 30 minutes long. And then afternoon is all your practical learning. Then if that's the case, who cares if there's a snow day? Let them have a snow day. If they do need a day off, if these kids have to be off because of flu or COVID or pneumonia. I also am very, very frustrated that winter break is so short. Winter break should not be 2 weeks while summer break is 3 months. If you really want longer breaks and the same amount of break weeks, then make winter break a good month or two. But the summer, people say, yeah, but the summer is the time for the kids to go vacation with the family. How many families do you know have the money to vacation for all 3 months? For me as a kid, because it was so hot outside, it meant me just staying indoors watching TV or doing chores for my mom. I could have been learning, and I wanted to learn. And I remember getting workbooks. I know I was a dork, but I remember getting workbooks or trying to read books. I wanted to keep studying, and I wanted to be ahead. I didn't want to forget all the stuff I learned in April and May. Plus, look at the winding down. You know how now we have so many workers that will Thursday already start winding down because Friday is now off. And then Thursday, they're like, well, let's leave for a half day because it's our Friday. At that point, I see what these students are doing. After spring break, the time between spring break and summer break is the least productive. Why? Because they know the summer break is coming. But if you have, again, where your academics are in the morning and your afternoons are your life skills and things where kids are excited. Okay, so in the summer, we're going to learn how to swim. We're going to learn first aid. We're going to learn self-defense. We're going to learn fishing. We're going to learn other trades. If they're doing practical learning so that by the time they're a sophomore in high school, they have had access to so many different jobs, know what they may want to go into. And then junior and senior year is either your associate's degree free college because it's under the high school realm of things, or it's your trade certificate training. So, here they're going back and forth with snow days, and is Zoran Mamdani right to not do a snow day or to do a snow day that the point is if these kids need a break, there should be that flexibility so that there is a break. But these kids shouldn't be on such a finite schedule and then no school for 3 months. And I really think students, by the way, you could study this. Right? There's kids that did year-round school with breaks throughout the year. Do they do better academically? Let's look into that. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
And we're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Doc Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So being a working mom, it was a struggle. And when former First Lady Michelle Obama on her Call Her Daddy podcast talked about mothers should maintaining their careers because their children fail to appreciate their sacrifices, she's not entirely wrong. I'm kind of mixed on this. So for me, I always wanted to have kids. I always knew I was going to be a mom, but I always wanted to be a doctor. I also wanted to be in show business, and trying to, choreograph all that and trying to balance that, I knew was going to be difficult. And as much as I think children should come first, they didn't. My career came first. I didn't want it to, but I had my first child in my last year of residency. Well, you got to get through residency, you got to graduate or you can't practice. And then I had my second child a year or two into my practice. And when you have patients come first. Patients don't care that the baby needs to be breastfed or the baby needs to sleep or the things have to be done. And so as much as I said, I am not going to sacrifice my kids, I'm not going to sacrifice my family, that's more important. It happens. It happens. And I'm very grateful for, having a career, having patients. I did good medicine, never been sued, no lawsuits, took care of everybody. Nobody died on my watch. And so I feel I did good medicine. Do I feel I was a good parent? No. I feel I neglected my kids. Luckily, Daddy was there. And every time, they needed me, I tried to be there. But would they have grown up better, felt more secure if they got to be with me more? What if I was a homemaker? And then I got to be there and work with them and teach them. And I do have regrets now, because to me, my family is some of the most important things in life. But my patients are important too. Also, you guys know me. I could have really messed them up if they had to be with me for hours on end, day after day after day. Maybe it was a blessing. But it's very interesting what Michelle Obama says, because one thing I noticed with in-laws and friends and other people that were struggling with their in-laws is when you did have somebody whose whole life was their kids, then their kids move out and go and do their thing. And now you're sitting there with, well, now what do I do? Empty nest. There starts to be more conflict, and we spoke about how, I love my mother-in-law, may she rest in peace, but she empty nested so badly that she wanted to, on a daily basis, be involved in our lives as we were engaged, etc. And here I am, I'm trying to, start a family. I'm trying to, handle residency, move to whatever hospital was going to randomly pick me, because in the match, you don't know where you're going until mid-May. And I'm trying to struggle with all this. And then on top of that, you have people who are going to be missing their baby boy or missing their daughter or missing, whomever you're dating. And they do feel neglected. According to Michelle Obama, which is really interesting that she opened up about that, she has two daughters, Malia and Sasha, with President Barack Obama. And on the podcast, she says she does not advise women to leave their career track because once the children are grown, they seek independence and disregard their mother's hard work. She says, let's be more honest about the struggle. She says, I am constantly telling young mothers it's coming. You don't have to get off your career track. And I don't even recommend it. She says, because kids grow up fast and then they're gone. You've sacrificed everything, and when they leave, they leave. They close the door and act like you never sacrificed. She says, they're like, I remember you. I don't need you anymore. Right? She says. So I'm like, you better have saved something for yourself so that when that period comes and they're ready to move on, you're also not holding on longer. She says, because now what am I going to do? I've devoted everything to you, and now I've got to fill my time. So I encourage people to hang in there and keep something for yourself throughout the process. She's not wrong in that. She's not wrong. And so, I look at things as, I want to do everything at 100%, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to be able to do everything at 100%. Now, as a doctor, you have to. And that's why the kids were sacrificed. That's why the kids were chosen second to patients. I am not allowed to, knowing a patient is calling, knowing that a patient needs care, to blow them off, but I blew off my kids. Did I go to every one of their Christmas pageants? Did I go to every one of their sporting games? No. Do I wish I did? Yeah, I have regrets. However, on the other end, I'm not going to have the regret of when they leave, me having nothing more in my life. Now, in nature, usually the grandparents end up helping with the kids and helping form that family unit, and there's still roles. But if your kids move away, or if there's another grandparent that's going to take over a lot of the babysitting, etc., you're sitting there and you're empty nesting and you get depressed. And so where we could fix this is, one is either not completely abandoning yourself, abandoning your hobbies, abandoning your career, make sure you still have growth. And two, if the kids do move out and you're in your 40s or 50s or 60s, you could still do anything you want. You could still go back to college. You could still become an accountant, a mechanic, a teacher. So your life doesn't have to stop. I know this society is becoming anti-age, where, what was it? Rahm Emanuel said, yeah, if you're 75, you're out. No matter how old you are of the legislative role you're in. And again, really, you could do anything you want in this day and age. And so being 40 or 50 or 60 is not old anymore. Now, I'm very, very grateful. As my kids are moving out, soon one will be getting married and all that. I can't wait. I'm excited. Am I going to want to be involved in their lives? Absolutely. Do I feel like they might not always remember, all that I went through? But they do thank me in so many ways, and they are grateful. So that's another issue. Michelle Obama talks about how moms will feel like their kids are ungrateful. Kids are grateful, but they're just not going to be conveying that 24/7. Now, for the amount of sacrifices we moms gave, 24/7 doesn't even touch the appreciation meter. However, they have lives to live. And if you keep reminding them, man, I gave birth to you, I tore in an episiotomy, I breastfed and lost my breast, I gave up my career, I gave this, the kids don't respond to that. And for those of you feeling you do have ungrateful children, or ungrateful, how I would have that conversation is say, look, when you're a parent, you are going to, completely reevaluate what life means. And your child is your everything. You would give your life for that child. And you do. You give your life for that child because that child is everything. And, if I am clingy, I apologize if because you are an adult. Now it's your time to live your own life. But understand that you and I have a bond that can never be broken because I gave birth to you and you're going to feel that same bond with your child. But I want to give you space. I want to give you independence. But I don't want to see you gone forever. I can't because, you're my flesh. And, what is a great way to proceed? Because you guys need to live your own life. But I also want to still have a role not only in your pediatric life, but in your adult life. And if there is a role that you and your new spouse are comfortable with, I'd like to be a part of that role because I love you. And I still feel there's a lot I could offer in terms of protection, education, guidance. And I know that doesn't, that kind of sounds sappy, but it's a lot better than, I can't believe you're treating me like this. You know how much I'm still bleeding from giving birth to you. I still have pieces of your placenta in me. Mom, I'm 22, really? I mean, there's better ways to have that conversation. But on the other end, if you don't want to abandon your child, to go back to school or work, and you want to help raise your child at home, why not? I think that's a beautiful thing. But I do agree with Michelle Obama that make sure you do have your life, your hobbies, your own nurturing and growth, because your kids do have to grow up. Your kids have to live their own life, and your kids deserve to have that independence, mommy free or daddy free. So, they say women have so many landmines, barriers, don'ts, limitations. I think it's important, she says, for all guys listening, especially men raising daughters, to realize that difference. But men go through that too, and I believe men feel that empty nest also because their job is to protect. And that's even worse for them, I think, because they feel they can't always be there to protect their daughter, to protect their son. So, cut everybody some slack. but it's okay to be selfish. And that's the hard part. As a mom, you're like, if I'm at all thinking about going to a party or going out or whatever, I'm being selfish. Actually, I've given you guys advice to be selfish. Like, not in terms of food or in terms of resources, but in terms of, having mommy time, daddy time, date time. Don't neglect your spouse. Don't neglect yourself. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
In many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Welcome back to the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I don't find this that shocking, but this is the latest medical headline, where 1 in 5 Americans do not get any physical activity outside of work. Really? 1 in 5 don't work out, basically? I'm surprised that's not higher. A lot of people don't go to the gym or get any regular physical activity outside of work. But this is something that the MAHA movement and RFK Jr. and Trump wants to look at in terms of why are adults and kids so chronically ill? Why are we so obese? Why do we have so many issues in terms of health? So this new federal data is being reported by Fox News, and it's showing wide differences in physical inactivity from state to state. According to Axios, nearly 22% of adults say they get zero, zilch, nada physical activity beyond their regular job. Now, this is according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the United Health Foundation's latest America Health Rankings report. Now, who is the least active? Apparently Mississippi. They say Mississippi ranks as the least active state, where 30.6% of adults report no exercise outside of work. Virginia and then Arkansas follow closely behind at 28.7% and 28.5%. They said several southern and Appalachian states saw similarly high rates. Alabama, Louisiana, Kentucky, Oklahoma followed closely behind. But on the other end of the spectrum, Washington, D.C. had the least rate of inactivity or some of the best numbers of physical activity. Colorado D.C. was at 13.9% of people not working out or doing physical activity beyond work. Colorado, 15.6%, Vermont, 16%, and Utah, 17%. Washington State and Minnesota followed closely behind with 17 to 18%. Now, interestingly, I would think New York would do really well because when you're in New York, all you do is walk. You just have to walk, just everywhere. So you're obviously getting some sort of activity to walk to work, walk to home, walk to get your pizza, whatever you're doing, walk to get your groceries. Apparently, New York and California were more in the middle of the rankings. New York reported an inactivity rate of about 24%, while California came near the national average of 21%. So this inactivity is why we're having cardiovascular issues, diabetes, obesity. The physical inactivity, unfortunately, is what is probably really going to lead to our extinctionism. Us driving to work, us watching Netflix, playing video games, sitting by a computer, no, not good for our health. So what do we do about it? Now, one issue, and I get this and I feel this because I'm middle-aged, is I'm tired. And when I work a full day, I'm tired. To go to the gym doesn't sound that appealing. But I have to, and I've always done this ever since, I don't know, like as a kid, I can never go to bed unless I've done at least a workout. Whether it's at the gym, whether it's outside, whether it's doing some weights in the house or the treadmill in the house. And so to me, I just never wanted to be inactive. I never wanted to be overweight. I am overweight. It happened anyway. But I just always wanted to make sure there was some physical activity. Physical activity improves your circulation. It improves the strength of your bones. It improves your mood. It's so good. The problem is people don't like going to the gym. They don't like the idea of working out. So what I've recommended is look at things that help you exercise more. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to the gym. So for example, federal guidelines recommend at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week, like brisk walking, or 75 minutes of vigorous activity. So 150 minutes, that kind of seems like a lot. What, 2.5 hours? 3 hours? Well, 3 times 6 is 180. Yeah, so what, 2.5 hours of working out a week? It needs to be more than that. In the olden days, you would have to walk to your work or hunt or gather. But this type of moderate intensity exercise could be walking the dog. It could be playing pickleball. It could be dancing. And if you don't want to go out and dance on the dance floor, and I get it, I don't know if you guys have ever seen me dance. I can't dance. I used to be able to dance, but now I can't do what everybody's doing. I'm just not cool. I look middle-aged. Well, then why don't you dance in the privacy of your own home? Put some music on and dance. You could dance 80 style. You could dance 90 style. You could get jiggy with it. You could do whatever. But there's things you could do. Let's say you have to do your laundry. Do you have to try to pile it up or carry everything in one trip? Why don't you make multiple trips? Do you have to park right by the door, or can you park at the end of the Walmart parking lot? And be safe, especially if it's nighttime. But I was at the airport. I took the stairs. I do not like taking the elevator. I don't like taking the escalator. I'll take the stairs. So any extra time, you could add extra activity. And I know there's been a lot of back and forth with these pedometers, where you'll see these studies saying they're wrong about the pedometers and the 10,000 steps. I told you where that 10,000 step number came from. Back during I believe the 1960s, when the Olympics were in Japan, a pedometer company wanted to sell their pedometer, and they said, you need to do 10,000 steps a day. So even in the 60s, they were trying to make sure people still stayed active. And so this 10,000 steps a day came from a marketing campaign. But I don't mind that. I like the 10,000 benchmark. Even come up with 5,000 if you're going from zero to nothing. Then come up with 5,000. But the idea of you watching your activity and being reminded that you need to do a few more, you could, let's say you're under by another 250 steps. Well, then before you go to bed, just walk back and forth in your room and get those extra steps. The reason why people were skinny in the olden days is because they didn't have cars. Now, they had to work. They didn't have machines. They didn't have computers. You had to walk or take a bus ride or, walk to a bus stop. I mean, you had to always move. And then at work, you had to always move. And then you didn't have a lot of junk food to eat and processed food. So we are going to have to do more than our ancestors did to work on our health. And so 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, that scares people. They go, but I don't want to, be short of breath. I don't want to break a sweat. Breaking a sweat is important. But if you don't think your heart is going to handle it, or you don't think your joints are going to handle it, to me, that means you need to see a medical provider. If you don't think your heart can handle going to the gym or walking the dog briskly or doing vigorous exercise, then that means if you have sex or you get angry about something or you get surprised about something, your heart is going to fail you. So get yourself checked out. Make sure your knees and your joints and your hips and all the other things have to be where they are. And you don't have to run a marathon. No one's asking you to. But start increasing your activity. Now, what do we do about being tired? So I always work out in the morning because by the end of the day, I want to wind down. I'm burnt out. I just want to eat. I want to watch some TV, go to bed. But then try to get your workout done in the morning. Wake up early. Honestly, you don't need coffee. Getting some sun and exercising outside, it's enough. That's going to wake you up easy. And you can even split up your exercise, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Again, it could be some sit-ups or crunches. It could be some leg lifts. It could be some yoga. It could be some arm weights. Physical activity is so general. They make it general because they don't want people to be like, oh, so all I have to do is 5 burpees, or all I have to do is that. Just come up with your own thing. But there's so many different ways to increase your physical activity that don't be one of these statistics where all you do is roll out of bed, go to work, come back, or if your work is sitting at home on your computer where that's all you're doing, exercise. Or every hour you're at work, get up, walk around for 5 minutes. Tell your boss that you don't want to get a blood clot. And so you're going to stand up, you're going to walk around. You might go to the coffee room, go to the bathroom, come back, at least add those steps. The study also found inactivity rates were significantly higher among adults with lower incomes, less education, disabilities, those living in rural areas, according to the United Health Foundation. And they also found that people in physically demanding jobs may also be less likely to exercise recreationally than those with desk jobs. But my concern is that many of these people who are inactive are desk job people. Come on, man. All right, you got to get active. Just if you want, use a pedometer, use an Apple Watch, or have a buddy, have a workout buddy. Make sure you are on top of your game and on top of your sport. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit, and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So some feedback I'm getting from many of you who now have telemedicine, shall we say, benefits with your insurance. Some of you are really loving it. Some of you are a little frustrated because you're spending money on a telemedicine visit only to be told that you need to go in and get seen, and you feel like you lost money. And so when do you use telemedicine? When do you just go to urgent care? When should you go to ER? And so I want to spend a few minutes. I always teach you guys, when to go to urgent care versus ER. Now, obviously, if this is something that's life-threatening, you are in severe pain, you might need imaging or a scan, you're worried about stroke, heart attack, appendicitis, rectal prolapse, you're bleeding internally, you're bleeding rectally, you're vomiting blood, you're coughing up blood, most likely I would recommend an ER. Whereas, with urgent care, there's a lot of things urgent cares can do in terms of coughs and colds, in terms of putting in stitches, doing x-rays to see if you have a broken ankle, things like that. If your shoulder's dislocated, some of us at urgent care were able to put it back in, but I would probably recommend ER. But with telemedicine, it's a little tricky. For some of us, we have $0 copay. So you have nothing to lose except time if you're able to have a non-emergent issue and contact somebody with telemedicine. But some of you are telling me you're spending $60, $80, $100 for a telemedicine visit only to be told, we can't help you. So how not to lose money? Well, first and foremost, one is understand your benefits. So check with your insurance. Sometimes insurance says, yeah, we offer telemedicine at low cost. Find out exactly what that cost is. Number two is all telemedicine companies have a website on what they treat. So many telemedicine companies will not treat a UTI in a male. So if you're a guy that's having burning when you pee and you're like, well, I think it's a UTI, there's guidelines where these doctors cannot treat you. They're going to send you to urgent care to do a urine test and then follow up with a urologist. So read the website because it'll say UTIs in male. We don't see. Or also, sorry, my nose is running. Also, pediatric UTIs. A lot of these companies cannot take care of pediatric UTIs. If you have a child going, yeah, I think they have a UTI, they're going to want it confirmed. Certain STD testing or screening. Some telemedicine companies can do labs, some can't. I know there's a lot of frustration where many people are calling up the telemedicine company saying, yeah, I think my child broke her hand. So I want you to order a test. And some companies are starting to do that, but others aren't. So you need to be aware. And if they say, well, if you think you have a broken hand, we need you to go to urgent care or ER, get an x-ray, and then get splinted or possibly casted, or you might even need to go into surgery, many telemedicine companies won't go there because you need an in-person doctor. So like I said, do your research and review what the telemedicine company offers. Yes, there are some like ear infections. Most telemedicine companies will not do infant ear infections over the phone. There's like an age limit of the child has to be over 4 or over 3 years old. So if you have an infant with an ear infection, I get that there's some doctors that might say, oh, you know what, I'll just do it. And I notice a lot of people, they're aware, but they think they'll get lucky. Mind you, if you're spending the money, there's rules. There's a better chance than not that you're going to be referred out. But now we're coming up with flu season and COVID. And this is getting tricky because there's doctors of two schools of thought. Some doctors are like, well, if you tell me you think you have the flu, you're exposed to the flu, let me just give you the flu medicine, we're good, and then move on. You have other doctors that are concerned that we're going to go back into another shortage where the FDA had to come in and say, look, can you confirm first? This was a few years back where we ran out of Tamiflu before flu season even started because people were calling up telemedicine in the late summer, early fall saying, I have flu. And it actually was COVID or something else. And so what I'm seeing is there's a lot of pushback from physicians, telemedicine physicians saying, look, somebody says they were exposed to the flu. How do I know, what? I mean, everybody and their mother could say, oh, yeah, I have the flu. But the person doesn't have a high fever. They have a low-grade fever. They're feeling achy. What if it's COVID? Not to mention these doctors are concerned about liability because if you miss the window to be treated for COVID because they improperly treated you for flu, and now you start getting COVID-related sequelae or long COVID, they could be liable. So what I recommend, because you might get some doctors saying, hey, if you think it's flu, I believe you. You might be lucky in that respect. But if you have a doctor saying, look, we really we need to confirm this, you might want to consider doing testing. And now we actually have the ability to test for flu at home. There's a lot of tests that will test for flu, COVID. Those are very helpful because if you do have a physician that's worried about liability, now you're uploading an image of your test, or you could take your test in front of them on the video saying, look, I'm testing. These are the results. Look, you're watching it as I go. And so maybe, having testing. One issue, though, I'm seeing is these at-home COVID tests are not always picking up COVID. And if the at-home COVID tests are designed for the previous strains, these new strains, Stratum and these other ones that are out and about, just because you have a negative COVID test does not mean the doctor's going to diagnose you with flu. So you might want to have that combo test. Another thing I notice a lot of women are doing is they think they have a UTI, they have burning. So they do an at-home urine test, and one of the metrics is positive, the other is negative. For some doctors, they might say, no, I'm not convinced. Your leukocytes are positive, but that could be because of a vaginal infection or STD, but your nitrites are negative. Now, just because you have a urinalysis with nitrites negative doesn't mean you're not having a UTI. You still could be, but you might have a doctor saying, I need more information. So I know some of you are like, well, how do I know if I'm going to get a doctor that's going to be easy or if I'm going to, well, this is why there's an advantage to you having a primary care provider, somebody who knows you. When you're getting a doctor you've never met and you're starting from scratch, it might be a crapshoot. And I have patients call up going, look, I know I have a staph infection. Just give me medicine for staph. I know that's what this is. Or I know I'm having a yeast infection. Are you having any discharge? No. Are you having itching? No. But I have pain. And I know that's what, well, if your gynecologist has tested you and the gynecologist is comfortable with that, they might be able to. But when you have a doctor who, could get sued or lose their license, they're going to be more hesitant. So, another thing you might want to think about is how to, minimize your risk as well as theirs. So let's say you have a condition that your doctor is very lenient and liberal on in terms of giving you treatment, and that's the treatment you want. You might want to upload your records. You might want to upload, what the diagnosis is. A big thing that is causing a lot of anxiety among doctors is diverticulitis. Somebody calls up saying they have lower abdominal pain. So they want 2 antibiotics for diverticulitis. And many telemedicine companies are treating diverticulitis. But you'll have some doctors going, whoa, this could be something else. In fact, I did that with one patient where I'm like, this might not be diverticulitis. I want you getting checked out. He writes back thanking me, saying you saved my life because I had a blood clot. I had thought he might have had COVID because he was coughing. And he got tested for COVID. He was positive for COVID, and it caused a blood clot in his renal vein. He never had diverticulitis. So it might help for you to also upload records and say, look, if you need this before you make a decision, this is what I suffer with, and this is what my doctor does. But again, nothing is as effective as having a doctor who knows you and a primary care provider. So make sure you get one of those. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.